Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 218, Loving Life. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host. I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, I want to welcome you to a brand new week, and I'm so glad you found us, however you found us, whether you're watching us on YouTube or whether you're listening to us in whatever podcast app you use. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 218.
218, baby. That's a big number there. And we thank you for your support to get to 218 shows. And somebody asked me recently, how did you do that? I just started laughing. I said, well, I show up every week.
Yep. Just keep at it. You
just keep showing up. My son recently told me that he thinks as he ages, my talks are going to really stay with him. And one of his quotes is, he says, I say all the time, is 90% of life is showing up.
Right.
And that's kind of true, friends. So we're happy to be showing up for you. And the other reason we do this is because we love it. I have to say, right. I am loving my work, my life, all this great new energy that's coming in and through my life. That's a total surprise. I've made a lot of new friends, a lot of new activities lately, and I'm just having a blast. And that kind of, what were you going to say, Dave?
No, I was just going to say it's so obvious, and it's seeing the amazing the things that are going on at Unity North Tampa.
Yeah, and
just how much it's blowing up there. How many new members? You said you recently had a new members class.
Yeah, 16 new members, which for this size community, I feel like that's amazing.
That's huge. You're going to need either a bigger building or more services,
right?
Which is got to feel really good,
being kind
of being on the leeward side, of building up a ministry. And so it's in your face, it's in your energy, and so I feel I'm super happy for you.
Yeah, I mean, Unity North Tampa is a super special community, a lot of great people, and a real special spiritual energy there on the land. Mm-hmm. It's just a beautiful area, and, I do really see a new sanctuary in the future because, it is in a home and, and all of that. And, when we have 3 and 4 weeks in a row, over 70 people, 80 people, 90 people, over 100 people. I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago now when we honored Reverend Virginia. We had over 100 in person and 49 online, that was more than Easter, So what I know is our Easter numbers is now what we're getting every week.
Right.
And so there's a lot of Spanish speaking people. So I've got to work more on my Spanish. I was talking to a friend last night from Costa Rica and about possibly doing an immersion program so I can really improve my Spanish. She goes, you don't have to go to Costa Rica. I'll do it for you. Just come to my house for a week and you'll know it by the end of the week.
That's fantastic. Well, I think it's really, really great. And you're right. The land over there it feels much more like a retreat, like going to a retreat center. And so and there's so much land, building a new sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And then so you'll be able to have a new sanctuary, dedicated to, sanctuary, but the building you have now would be perfect. As a retreat center.
It could be a retreat center. Yeah, mm-hmm. It could be kids' rooms. And our youth ministry starting back up. We had a lot of kids on Sunday. And we've been doing this thing where in that big opening song, I just invite whatever kids are there up. And the platform was so full, I could hardly move. There were kids. We had an extra... my dear friend Fred Albers was in town. And so our regular pianist Pablo was on the keyboards. So, wow, we had like a real band. So that's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good,
and
good.
that kind of reminds me of today's title. Dave, give me the title of today's show, please.
Yeah, the title for episode 218 is Loving Life.
Loving life.
life. Absolutely. And it's obvious. Again, if you're listening to this, then go watch it on YouTube because you can see it. I can see
Oh,
it
yes, so
on
sweet.
you. Yep.
Well, when I hugged Fred yesterday, Fred Albers and Fred's been on the show, but we've been friends for so long, and we went to take a picture, and I just grabbed him around the waist, and we realized we kind of looked like a prom photo.
Got the awkward smile. And
yeah, that awkward smile. He was like, "Oh, you are grabbing my waist."
See, now you're going to have to send us a photo of that. You're going to have to give us that
Yes,
Fred Albers
I will give
prom
you
photo.
I'll give you the prom photo. Of course, his wife loved it. We're real good friends, and it was great seeing them. But yeah, loving life, and one of my favorite sayings of the Dalai Lama is when someone said to him, "What is the key to happiness?" And he said, "Well, quit doing the things that make you unhappy and start doing the things that make you happy."
It's a very simple calculus.
So simple, right? In other words, stress is not normal, right?
Yeah.
And it's certainly a journey with this. And most everyone I've talked to lately, and I've talked to so many people recently from all around the country, even around the world. Recently, somehow my reach has expanded a little bit. My friendships have really grown around the world, but I've really realized the sameness of our process because we're all in similar but different, stages of the journey. And so everyone I'm speaking with, friends, clients, are all feeling like, wow, this is a journey. And, it's ever evolving and ever unfolding. Like I think when we're like 20s and 30s, we feel like there's going to be some arrival and life is going to all of a sudden be perfect. But that actually doesn't really exist. What does exist, though, is moments of illumination, moments of awakening, and then taking that awakening, into the next step. I don't know. So I feel like I want to say that this loving life, if you're sitting there going, oh, well, am I doing it wrong? Well, the answer is it just might be time for another awakening moment. And you get to move into that with some ease and grace. Like, I don't want you to hear me say, oh, I'm loving life. And you're going, well, my life sucks right now. So what does that mean? Because there's moments of life being difficult. You've heard some of my moments. You've heard when I've talked about, the death of my mom. You've heard when I was in transition from job to job and, there's self-reflection work to be done. There's forgiveness work to do. There's, releasing. But if all that work is not getting you to loving life, then it's time to regroup. Right? So when I'm talking about loving life, I'm talking about really giving yourself to life in a really big way. Not giving yourself away, but giving your energy to your life, your circumstance, your work. And, well, let me say this. Over the years, I've worked with, hundreds of thousands of people even. And individually, some of the people I work with come to me often in a state of, I'm dissatisfied with my work, or I feel like I'm just punching the clock. I'm not, enjoying my work. I don't like the management style, blah, blah, blah. This story kind of goes the same. Well, what's so interesting as we start to dial through, what's really going on, sometimes it's that they are not showing up for work. They are not bringing their A game, spoken in business terms. Sometimes you got to bring your A game. In my work, I can't afford to not bring my A game, right? I got to bring my A game. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. I've got to spiritually feed people, right? So, that's the job, right? And so I can't go, well, I'm kind of tired this morning, Dave. Let's just not record. I am tired.
Yeah, that's how we've made it to 218 episodes.
That's how we made it to 218 episodes. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I am a little tired today, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about showing up even when you're tired.
Hmm.
And so it's, I talk so much about being on purpose. And when you're on purpose, it means you are aware of what's yours to do. You have a direction, you have a goal, you have a vision, you have a plan, you have things that you want to accomplish by such and such time. You have guideposts, benchmarks of, next steps. And so when you have those things in place, your job often becomes a vehicle for helping those dreams manifest and come true. So to not show up in your A game, you're actually self-sabotaging, and nothing is wrong with the job. It's you. So think about that. I worked with a guy years ago, and through one of my ministries, and we're still in contact today. He'll call me every now and then and go, RCA, thank you. I wanted to just say you floated through my mind again. Thank you. But he used to say to me every time I saw him, oh my gosh, my job is, I got to get out of this job. He would say it over and over and over. And one day he goes, guess what? I got out of this job and it wasn't my idea. I said, well, you've been wanting that for some time. And he goes, well, that's true, isn't it? I talked myself right out of a job. And I said, well, let's talk about that. Because if you talked yourself out of one, you could talk yourself into another. And let's see what's going on. And boy, life shifts. He was not happy. He self-admittedly said, I wasn't showing up the way I know to show up. And he said, so he said, I was out of integrity with myself. I wasn't giving what I should give if I'm going to show up there. And I would have fired me too. So, and there's obviously times, when work situations do need to shift, but we want to make sure that we're not, self-sabotaging by just not showing up. So today's show, Loving Life, is that the title, Dave? Because I changed it.
Loving Life, yeah.
I changed it a couple times from I Love Life to Loving Life or Loving My Life.
Loving Life.
When you love your life, you want to show up all the way. You want to bring your A game. You want to listen with an open heart. You want to look your best. You want to shine your light. You want to, be a blessing to those you meet. It's so simple, really. And yet, we have responsibilities, don't we? We have things that, so our adult minds start to say, but what about this? And, what about that? So I'm not saying you just go, let's go, let's quit everything and let's go buy a skateboard and go back to when we were, 11 and all we did was skateboard and ride bikes. Although that sounds fun right now. So there are adult responsibilities, but there needs to be ways that you are in your joy on a regular basis. There need to be ways that the things you're choosing to do are bringing light, love, joy, and peace into the world. And so bringing your A game is loving life, showing up all the way. Not saying, well, I've got work to do, but you know what? I think I'm just going to go on Facebook for a while and see what they're doing, or they're doing, or they're doing, or they're doing. It's such a distraction. Just be about it. I have quite a commute right now in my work going to Tampa, and everybody says, how do you do that? And I go, well, what do you mean? I don't get the question. Well, it's a long way. I said, well, you know what? I don't go in every day. And I used to commute about 45 minutes each way to my Orlando job because of Orlando traffic. And I did that 5 or 6 days a week. And you know what? The amount of time I go in, it's just about even. So it's all good. It's all good. It's no problem. My life right now is in 2 places. It's just that simple. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, And there are times I have to make decisions, to not do evening events or things like that. But I'm showing up all the way by going in when it's mine to go in. We went through all that building construction and somebody said, I need to meet you on Friday. And I'm telling you, friends, I never plan any work for Friday. That's the absolute one day. I haven't worked Fridays in years. But you know what? I had to do it that day. Well, that's my job. So I did it. And about the first half hour on the way, I was regretting it. Like, why did I say yes to this? And then I was like, you know what? I love my job. I love the people I serve. It's one day. So what if I just enjoyed the drive? I could see all the birds I love to see. I could check all the areas I drive by. I could, spiritual experience the rest of the way. It's like, just be in the moment. Just love it. So that's what I mean by loving life. It's about bringing your whole self to the party. So the question then becomes, am I doing what I love? And if not, as we talked about recently, you get to change that. You are the CEO of your life. You have the power to change your mind. You are the chief executive officer of everything that happens. So think about that.
And it's not necessarily just job related, right?
Right.
It's all aspects of your life that you have some level of control over,
Yes.
Whether it's relationships or whether it's where you're getting, spiritually fed or any of those types of things. You have a say. You have a say in who you hang out with. You have a say in, where you go to church. You have and so those all conspire. You have a say in where you get your groceries, and so all these things kind of conspire together to create, your life.
Yes, your whole life. Yes. I thank you for bringing that to my attention, Dave, because I was talking a lot about work because so often that's what people come to me about. But the truth is, it's about everything but work, right? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And choosing well where you're going to spend your time is super, super important. So an activity I've been working with lately is writing music. And, many of you know that I grew up in a super musical household and, I was a career musician before becoming a minister. And so, but I never really wrote a lot of songs. And this year I've written like 3 or 4 songs and so excited, Dave, to, come to the studio and produce this one coming up. And, it's bringing me a lot of joy to do that. And it's nothing I'm getting paid to do. It's nothing that, but it really beats watching Netflix. I'll tell you. I feel creative. I feel, I don't know. It's just fun. I feel like it's just a real time of creation for me in a lot of different areas of my life. And if it brings me joy right now, I'm all about it. Because I've worked very, very hard for a really long time, and I'm always going to work hard. So this year, I've noticed that my life kind of like a year will have a kind of a theme to it. And this year, if I had to say one, it is a loving life. Just enjoying the moments. So we'll talk more about that as we come back right after this brief message. I invite you to the wonderful book series that begins in August called Tears to Triumph. Tears to Triumph is an amazing spiritual book by the acclaimed author Marianne Williamson. Tears to Triumph is really a book about spiritual healing from the modern plagues of anxiety and depression, and it'll give you some wonderful new tools for healing, some practical exercises, and of course, support for your soul's growth and healing on every level. So I hope you'll join us in the month of August. What's so wonderful is at Unity North Tampa, I'll be doing the message, so you can catch that online on YouTube at Unity North Tampa. And the class begins Monday, August 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern online. For more information about the class, please go to CynthiaAliceAnderson.com and go to courses, and there will be more information about our class. The great news is we're offering this class on a love offering basis, and the offering will be going to Unity North Tampa. So blessings on the journey, dear friend, and I hope you can join me for Tears to Triumph on Mondays in August. Welcome back, friends. Dave and I just had a blast on the break talking about all we've been doing. And it's really funny for me on the journey to watch my own development and my own evolvement. And I hope, friends, you take time to look back at, where you've been and some of the things you've learned. I like to think that I bring some of those, lessons forward because I'm in a real different place than I was, say, 5 years ago. 3 years ago. And how I know I'm on point is how I feel. And so I'm hoping that you are not just powering through life and doing the things you're doing because you feel like you have to, but that you're lightening up as you go. The forgiveness, the moving into your joy, the bringing your A game in your work. And again, it's not just your work. I love to be in my work and be successful in my work. So I give a lot there, but I've been learning too in the last year to really give to myself and to really enjoy my choices for myself outside of work, because I do give so much, in the work setting. So, many of you know that in Unity, every year we do something called White Stone. And Dave, you've participated in that.
Oh, yeah. I have a couple of white stones here on my desk. I just keep them there. Yep.
I keep mine on my dresser and look at it every day when I'm not out on an adventure. That is, which has been a lot lately. But, I never typically share my word, but I want to this time because I'm really living into it. And it's 3 words. This year, my white stone was all about me. All about me. And to honor that, to allow that, to enjoy that I have the power to choose. And it's really okay and good for this year to be all about me, my joy, my happiness, my home, my dog that I love, that I can take him on walks whenever I want to. I don't have anybody to ask or whatever. It's all about me. It's all about me. And it's put me in a different state of consciousness in terms of the types of people I'm drawing into my life. I've noticed a change that when I'm honoring myself, and when I'm honoring my desires for a greater experience of life, right? Greater experience, as my friend Richard Rogers says, a greater experience of God in life, as I'm really honoring what that is for me, I'm drawing more individuals like that into my life. I've had people say negatively, well, it's all about you. And this year I'm saying, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to listen to my inner guidance. I'm going to follow that joy. I'm going to do what I feel is mine to do. This morning is a great example. I had to call Dave last night because I really did overbook myself this weekend, totally by accident. But everything was so fun, I just couldn't say no. And I had a blast. I had a blast.
You were loving life.
It is so true. I mean, boating and being with friends and then a soccer game. I met a group of new people, and on the way to the soccer game, I saw some former members who just came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, thank you for, impacting my life. And I'm so happy to see you. And oh my goodness, my kids are happy to see you." And I just felt like, wow, I just really want to take this in. This was like such an unexpected blessing. And then, so we saw each other when I first got to the restaurant. And then as he was leaving, he said, "Thank you for being one of my good guys in my life. You really have impacted me in ways you'll never know." And I was just on my way to a soccer game. You know what I mean? And then I was trying to help this homeless guy too while we were there. So, but it felt like, oh wow, I'm really in the flow right now. And it felt really good to receive that. And had I not been out, had I not been in my joy, had I not been laughing with friends, had I not said yes, I never would have heard that feedback from that gentleman who I hadn't seen in years. It'd probably been at least 5 or 6 years since I'd seen him. He wrote me a letter before I left CCU as well. But, it's just that type of connection. Some of us go our whole lives and don't hear feedback like that. And it was such a gift to me. And I thought, boy, all the things that had to happen to get me and him here at this exact moment. And for me to see the kids and their development and their growth, it was amazing. So yeah, I'm loving life, friends. Loving life. Saying yes to wonderful opportunity. And then what I started to say about calling Dave last night, or texting him rather, was I had gotten so booked, I realized going into the studio, which was going to be a thing of joy and pleasure, was starting to feel heavy and arduous. My voice was tired. My body was tired. I had not slept quite enough the night before, which is almost always the case on Saturday. I almost feel like I'm better on Sunday when I'm sleep deprived. So it's a little bit of a push-pull in my mind about Saturday night into Sunday. And I just had an amazing, weekend. But when I thought about the recording, it was like, oh, I don't feel ready. My voice feels tired. And someone very dear to me said, "Well, can you reschedule?" And I said, "Well, yeah." Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy. I mean, I can just love myself enough that if this is not working for me, I mean, it was my idea in the first place, right? But with me, if it's on the calendar, it's got to happen, It was my idea in the first place, and Dave being the cool cat Dave is, was like, yeah, I'm good. Easy. In other words, Dave can always use an extra 2 hours.
Yeah, and I did. I filled it up already. So no, it was no problem at all. And if coming into the studio, to do some recording was part of your loving life, if it stops feeling that way, then just punt and we'll find another day. And we did. We've already booked another day. And
we've already booked another day. Yeah.
If future RCA, the same thing happens, it's okay. I'm not fussed. Let's roll with it, man.
Right.
Absolutely.
And always we want to be about the energy. And we've talked so much about following the energy, and it's like, wow, this was not an energy of abundance and love and joy. It was like, ooh, I have to cram this in. I got to get up early and practice. Oh no, no.
Yeah. Why are you doing it?
Why would I do this? Right. Why would I do that? But think about how often we all do that, right? Mm-hmm. I got to do this. I got to do that. Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you don't. Maybe you cancel too much. I had somebody say to me one time, "Well, I know you talk all about, self-care being on occasion. You got to say no to something." And they said, for me, I have to say yes, because I can easily stay home and coast for days and not feel bad at all about canceling an entire week of meetings. And I was just like, that I couldn't, wow, I couldn't imagine that, so.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm adjusting to right now, I've talked on the podcast before about how I do a lot of the cooking.
Oh, yeah, right.
But with all of the new business and 52 Qs and everything, with that all
Yeah.
taking
I wondered about that.
flight,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's fallen further and further down, down the priority list. And so one thing that used to really, really bring me joy, which is lighting up the grill and doing all of that, had become this thing I was just trying to wedge into some free space, some free time. And so, I'm still in the middle. I wish I could tell you, and this is how I solved it. No, I'm still in the middle of like working it out, and so I haven't lit my grill in 2 weeks now, which is crazy because especially like
grilling.
Peak pandemic, I was grilling 2 and 3 times.
Peak pandemic.
Is that a wrong
I love that. I knew exactly what you meant. That's what's so weird.
Like when everybody was locked down and everything, and I was grilling 2 and 3 times a week.
Why not? What else were you doing?
I was buying a giant bag of charcoal once a week. That's how much I was grilling.
Yeah.
So that's been a real adjustment, and I just had to kind of release it because this thing that was giving me life has now become this obligatory source of stress. And so, it means we have to do some balancing in the household and some managing expectations, but,
no, honey, we're not grilling again. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I didn't mean to interrupt there at the end, Dave, but
fine.
one of the things I thought was really good that you said that I wanted to just lift up for us to pause for a moment for me too is it's in process.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there's some way in which we feel nearly everybody I work with has some need to have everything like all buttoned up and done and figured out. And that's not a realistic expectation when life is shifting. It's not a realistic expectation when life is shifting.
Yep.
And so just like giving yourself permission to go, well, like I always say, I'm kind of wiggling around in that. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not 100%, I'm wiggling around in that.
Yeah, we haven't gotten, whatever the 2022 version of all of our meals. We haven't sorted all that out, but so far, everybody in the house has just kind of rolled with it. And if that means that, I know I had, grilled chicken on the books, because we have a little chalkboard that we put in our kitchen.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Just so like the whole house kind of knows what meal plans are. So if somebody wants to go out or they want to get fast food or they just want to eat a lean cuisine, where we're planning. But there have been several times, especially since the spring, where when we launched 52 Qs in a whole new business, where it's just we just have to punt, and so we'll cross out Thursday and write Friday, and then we'll cross out Friday.
Oh, that's great.
And then
on the board.
Right,
that's
on
what
our
you
little
do.
chalkboard.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows. But there's been a couple of times where like, all right, we're doing tacos, on Sunday now, but then we'll go and the meat has now gone bad, and it's just where we're at,
know.
And it's like, I guess we're ordering Chinese, right?
Again, right.
Again. And so we just have to roll with it, and everybody's just kind of understanding where everybody else is. And for me, not feeling terrible, like, I can't feed my family or something like that, everybody understands.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, my wiggle around, my thing I'm in process with over here is I have a variety of things going on in a variety of places, right? I was mentioning that, or our listeners know, with work in Tampa, with living in Orlando, I also, I'm very into my martial arts jiu-jitsu practice. I really have a desire to be there for my son. I'm also enjoying a lot of activities. I'm doing a lot of boating. I'm in the water a lot. Going to the beach, all those things really matter to me. And the things that used to occupy my time, I am letting go. I really don't have to do laundry every single day. I can wait and do it every 2 or 3 days. I don't have to make salmon or steak or roasted chicken every night, for goodness sakes. I can go a couple of days. And it's just a shift in the way I'm doing life. But I'm glad you're talking about that, Dave, because sometimes we have to put the brakes on and go, okay, well, if I'm starting to feel pinched and everything starts to feel heavy, but I always feel pinched, like there's not time to journal, there's not time. And if I start thinking that, I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that. So I'm going to have time to journal. I'm going to have time to rest. I'm going to have time to do the things I love. So something's got to go.
Yeah. Well, it flips from loving life to, I don't want to say hating life, because hate that's a really, really powerful word. And
That's
I don't
a pretty strong word. Yeah.
But loving life to, no, for me, again, with just the cooking thing, it was like, it became like, not resenting life, but it was just stressing life.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't loving life. It was stressing about life.
Yeah.
And that's where I was getting to.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as a minister, I've been so accustomed to being super available by text messaging. I had my phone off for 2 whole days. So I did not check email for 2 whole days, or maybe actually 3. I did 3 whole days of no email. And that felt like I was on vacation, and I've come to the conclusion that not everybody checks email every single day off. So I was taking 1 day off. So having 3 days felt like, oh, wow. And I, scanned this morning right before our time of recording, and nothing was burning. Yeah. Everybody was fine. Like I said, I'm just getting my phone back on and text. I have 73 text messages. Okay. So, but, what's up? Can you talk? Confirming a meeting. Nothing's a big deal. So, that's been an adjustment. That's an adjustment too. And just making space for me has been so, so important. So I'm glad to know, Dave, that you are making space for you. And because you're a real provider, you're always going to tend towards taking care of the people around you, and I think it's really good to know that tendency because you don't want to give to the point that you're starting to resent the things you're doing. And that can happen when you start stacking everything up. Then you start to move into, why aren't they doing anything, and moving into resentments. I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm projecting onto your process that any of us, if we give past the point that we're really comfortable, then all kinds of weirdness, we start making up stories, resentments build, and we go, screw it. You make your own whatever,
That's right.
And that we don't want to get into that consciousness, right? So that's the point of today's show, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'd be lying if I said that it hadn't gotten close to that point.
I believe it.
Before, but it's like, come on, I'm in the studio, 16 hours a day, and you can't brown up some taco meat. I mean,
for goodness sakes. Right.
But that's because, where the cooking was coming from was of a place of love, something that I enjoyed.
So a real way to serve your family. Yeah.
Absolutely. I loved like hanging out by the grill, and it was just this really kind of release thing. But I need to find that again. But I just need to be really deliberate when I do. So yeah, I'm sure family meetings, in our future, but.
Family meeting in the future. Yeah. Well, one of the things that's really helped with all that at my home is our family code. We have a code of honor that we follow. And one of the points in that, and I'll try to see if I can get you those, Dave, to add to the show notes. But one of the points of the family code of honor is taking care of yourself. And, with being a single parent and having a 15-year-old, he has a lot going on. There's a lot running around to lessons and, stuff after school. And I mean, this summer, the kid was like, you couldn't tell it was summer. He was taking 2 classes. He went in early before school started to paint the orchestra room because he's got all these. He holds 2 offices in the orchestra, and so he took in all this equipment to organize all the kids to do a painting thing, and so we were full tilt over here. So it's like, okay, if you need that for school, you get that together and let me know if you need help. But taking care of oneself is a part of supporting the family. And that's really helped over here. And our family code of honor is posted on the fridge. And either of us can hold the other to that. And that's been good. Really empowering for my son as well. But there's some really great points on that. We did a show on it, I want to say years ago, Dave. I think it was called, was it called Family Code of Honor? We'll have to look that up and see. But, and yeah, we'll have to see. But
yeah, I'll look through the archives.
Yeah. But anyway, friends, a bottom line is having some shared agreements in your household is really good, in a real conscious way of managing some of those expectations, and also knowing that could shift and change over time. With us, they're real basic, like take care of yourself, no yelling or demeaning or shaming. Celebrate successes, tell the truth, talk it out, sing it out. We have a few points like that. And it just is a reminder, as we keep them posted, to stay honest with those processes, because there's always going to be shifts. And we want to be as conscious as possible so that we don't get into negative behaviors, and what the author Greg Baer in his book Real Love calls getting and protecting behaviors, right? So rather than saying the truth, we want to do all these bizarre behaviors and make up stories and say stuff under our breath and get passive aggressive. Those are all getting and protecting behaviors. And rather than doing that, we want to have an honest conversation. And I found if they're people you're supposed to be in relationship with, that honest conversation is the best way to keep the flow going. And I'm having a blast with that right now in all my relationships. So think about that, friends. Think about that. And I hope that as we're talking about all this today, as we're wrapping up the show, that you're really thinking, wow, could I make some shifts? Could I move into more joy and more love? And am I bringing myself to my life and my relationships in an honest and authentic way? Am I communicating my needs, wants, and desires in a healthy way? Am I showing up the way I want to show up? So our goal in talking about this is just to get you thinking, a little more conscious. This is what our goal is. As we're developing, as we're growing, as we're evolving, we want to see that with you and for you. We want to help you live the absolute best life that you can. So we thank you for listening. As always, friends, we are always praying for you, lifting you up. And I thank you for your financial support. Probably in our next show, we're going to talk a little bit about a financial goal for some things we're wanting to do. So we're developing that plan now, and we'll get back to you. But every time you give, what I can say is it assures the show continues, and we thank you for all the financial gifts that are coming our way. So we'll see you next week, and feel free to check out all the shows on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, including my Sunday messages from Unity North Tampa. So we'll see you next week, and blessings on the journey, dear friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.